Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining me today. Let's figure out how we can get you a job and how we can do that effectively and efficiently by using AI as your job search assistant. Let's break down where it makes sense to use, where it doesn't make sense to use, and where a hybrid approach is also going to be your most successful strategy. That's the objective of what we're trying to accomplish today. And so, if we really think about the job search strategy or job search process, it's 5 phases. You have your documentation phase, which is going to be your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn. You're searching and applying, so seeking out recruiters, looking at job boards, and ultimately filling out applications. Then you have your interview preparation and interview execution. And then you have your offer negotiation as phase 4. And then phase 5 finally is profit. So, like I said, what we're trying to do here is get you to understand that AI won't replace you, but someone who knows how to use it will. And the thing to look at this is a commonly used concept when it comes to your career path and your actual job. But this is also going to be the case in the job search, right? If someone can submit 300 applications in the time that you can submit 100, or they can submit, a 80-90% keyword matching and really accurate representation positions that consistently where you're doing it 50% of the time, then even with the same volume, they're going to be more likely to succeed. So we're going to try to figure out how to use AI based off of my proven strategies, methodology I've used for myself, I've used for my clients, and I've also used for a few nonprofits to help people out as well. In their job search. And so, what we're trying to do is ultimately accelerate your job search process to getting you to an offer more consistently and more expediently than hopefully it has taken you thus far. And really, the theme for where AI is not going to be sufficient or a hybrid approach is going to be the way to go is the human to human component. AI cannot interview for you. AI cannot handshake for you if it's an in person interview. It cannot replace the human to human. But the reason I say that those situations a lot of times are still hybrid, depending on what it is because it may not be able to replace you in those scenarios, but it can definitely help you elevate when you are in those scenarios. And that's ultimately where we're going to talk about in those particular pieces as well. All right, so let's dive into all the tactics we're going to be talking about here. So, phase 1 of your job search process, documentation creation. Again, this is resume, cover letter, LinkedIn. And as a professional resume writer and someone who has written hundreds of resumes professionally, also hundreds probably unprofessionally, I've been writing resumes since I was 19 for friends, family, network, colleagues, etc. AI is just superior. Just putting it flat out there. It really is. The amount of time and accuracy and consistency in which it can scan job descriptions and analyze them for the keywords, the key phrases, the language, the experience. It can gap analysis, the experience we're representing and what the company's asking for, looking at each individual company's mission, vision, values to truly tailor things, etc. It's so much faster. It's so much better. And it is by far superior. And then taking all of that, including your bullet pointed, simple thoughts of your achievements and results, and taking all of that and putting it into a cohesive document, it's so good. It is so, so, so good. It is one of the reasons why, full transparency, that I created the AI resume toolkit out on the promoted website for $39 is because where I used to charge, $275 for a resume, that value to impact ratio just doesn't make sense anymore with AI resume writing. There's other subscription-based services out there as well, but it just honestly, it just didn't sit right with me to some degree. And so that is why I have that out there is I had to take the step back, put my ego aside and just admit that no matter how many hundreds or potentially thousands of resumes I've written, AI is better. So how do we use AI? So it's phenomenal, like I said, at job description analysis, looking for keywords, looking at the mission, vision, values, seeing which ones are lacking from your resume, getting into a little bit non-analysis point of view. It's the best thing at spelling and grammar, if I'm being fully transparent. It is so much better than Word, Outlook, Copilot, etc. Also, analyzing and prioritizing all of the experience. Like, let's say maybe you have 18 bullet points that you've crafted for a given job position on your resume, but we really only want to demonstrate 10 to 12. So having it say, okay, here's your most impactful, relevant top to 12. And here's also the order they should be in so that the most important and like heavy hitters are early in the list, like that sort of stuff. So good. And then also just flat out crafting the bullet points themselves. Now, where humans are superior in this process, which is ultimately what makes this the best hybrid approach possible, is you are the only one that knows your story and your unique achievements and relevance to the job position and things like that. So when it comes to having ChatGPT create these bullet points, you want to have your list of the achievements and impacts that you've made. So projects you've completed, or revenue that you've saved, or cost savings you've done, or man hours, or retention that you've increased. Whatever the result might be, you need to have this listed out so that when it goes to craft the bullet points, it's not just regurgitating the job description in some generic nonsense, but that it's actually going, okay, here's what company, what promoted is looking for. And here's what Zach is saying that he has done. Where do these things overlap? And then how do I use the language from the job description to demonstrate what Zach has done? That's really what we're trying to do here. And then the other side of where humans win is the formatting and aesthetics. I have yet to have AI produce for me a great format and template, etc. Honestly, I have free download templates. I believe they're linked in the description below. So if you want to know what a quality, successful ATS kind of solid resume format looks like, get my free templates down below. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here for a quick second to kind of show you what our first initial AI prompt is going to look like here. So here we have our resume writing. So the job analysis portion. So we're going to say, I want you to analyze X, so blank number of provided job descriptions for keywords, key phrases, and key language identified across the job descriptions that should be incorporated into a successful resume. We will follow this exact process. You will provide me the first job, or you will ask me for the first job description to analyze. I will provide it to you. You will then provide the results of your analysis for keywords, key phrases, key language, and then go to step 2. And then do step 2, and then step 3 and 4, or however many you're looking at. Now, I recommend to typically stay within 3 to 5 job descriptions. That's kind of the money sweet spot that I have found with AI doing this level of analysis, is having it look at 3 to 5 job descriptions at a time. And the other thing to note here is you want to use like job descriptions. So again, let's say maybe as an example, you've spent your whole life in sort of a 1 foot in marketing and 1 foot in sales type of role for your organizations. But you're now like, hey, you know what? I don't care which one I specialize in, but I want to go deep in one of them. I really enjoy both, but whichever opportunity presents itself, that's what I want to do. Then you'll actually want to do 2 resumes, one for marketing, one for sales, and then you adjust the 3 to 5 job descriptions accordingly. So you do 3 to 5 sales positions, 3 to 5 marketing positions, and that's how you craft those resumes. You don't want to intermingle a bunch of conflicting or wildly different job descriptions and job postings. And I would argue gone are kind of the days of just general generic resumes that work in that capacity in general. Now, when we're talking about the bullet point crafting, these are very simple prompts, right? So now it's done the analysis. This is in the same ChatGPT chat. And so then you're going to say, based on this resume experience, can you write up to blank new resume bullet points that align with the blank number of previously analyzed job descriptions by incorporating this information? And then we're going to analyze and prioritize relevant information. So once we have bullet points, right? So based on the previously analyzed job descriptions, which order would you put these resume bullet points in to have the most relevant, impactful experience earliest in the list? And there's just a quick, simple formula. And you can tweak and mess with these different things as well. Like in the bullet point crafting, maybe you want a particular tone. You don't want it to be overly formal, or maybe you want it to be very informal. You want it to be very concise and short. You can add in these sorts of modifiers. Think of these as more base prompts for who you are, and then the message that you want to convey on top of it. So this is not necessarily the final formula. That's why these prompts are pseudo generic and pseudo simple. So please know that you can manipulate and add in the different characteristics of how you want your resume to look and feel. Okay. Now the spelling and grammar one I mentioned earlier is also super simple. It's a very simple prompt. Just say, please give me a list of all give me a comprehensive list of all spelling and grammar mistakes contained in this resume. Copy and paste the resume. Call it a day, and it will give you that list. Okay. Now, other 2 pieces of documentation: cover letter and LinkedIn. So cover letter piece. You should never write a cover letter ever again. Kind of going back to what I was saying with the portion of the resume writing, where it's just superior at being able to analyze and make relevant information and tie it all together into this single cohesive narrative of a resume. That is why your cover letter should just be written by AI. And I will tell you, you can manipulate the tone and presentation and messaging so much. And so what you want to do here is you actually want to do this within the same chat that you are doing the resume analysis. So you want to take the cover, so you want to finish that once you have your complete resume. You don't want to wait, or don't do it while you're midstream and manipulating the resume. This should come completely after. And that way, the final body of work that you're working with Because the other thing with the cover letter is it should not be a summary of your resume. You should expect the cover letter to be serving a couple different purposes. One, it is either going to be displaying potential relevant achievements that were maybe just competing with your other ones and you didn't have the real estate on the resume 2-page limit to fit them on. The other scenario is it might be just telling more of your story, right? Maybe you took a 2-year break in order to take care of family or to do some traveling. Then you want to input that information into it as well and have it formulate that into a professional message so that you get ahead of that question of, well, I see you have a 2-year gap. Why haven't you been employed since 2023 or whatever it might be? Or if you're maybe transitioning careers, hey, I see that your last 3 jobs have been in project management, but now you're looking to become a data analyst. What was the driver behind that? AI, you can give it exactly what you want to say in the most basic and whatever terms that are in your brain that you don't know quite how to put pen to paper in a professional way. Tell it that, and it can use that as a portion of the cover letter as well. And then that kind of hints to the overall third piece of what I was saying or gonna say is if there are any potential like yellow flags, red flags, things like that, that you want to use the cover letter to get ahead of those. And so really your cover letter is to augment your resume. Your resume is a risk mitigation document where it's telling what you've done, the skills you have, and the impact you've made. End of story. Your cover letter is a little bit more about you and the why and the how and what's next. It's a little bit more of a story and narrative driven document. And so I will share my screen again here real quick to show you that prompt for the cover letter writing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, please write me a compelling and narrative driven cover letter based on my resume and my additional professional information for previously provided job description. The cover letter should not be a summary of my resume, but instead be an augmentation to my resume application and portray the story of why I will be successful in the role I'm applying for. The tone of the cover letter should be professional while also sounding organically human written and should overall maximize the chances of having a successful job application. So pretty much everything I said there, that's what that prompt is telling ChatGPT to do. Again, tweak the tone. I'll give you an example, very extreme example. In my last job search, there was a company that I applied to. I won't say their name, but their whole job description and kind of website was pirate themed. And so I actually had ChatGPT write my cover letter in entire pirate language. So it told my story and everything in pirate language and submitted that. And it was overall a pretty successful endeavor. So it was just a very interesting thing. Like you can really go to the extreme to really tailor to a particular company based on their mission, vision, values, job descriptions, etc. That's what we're really, really looking for here from the cover letter perspective. Now, LinkedIn is one where I don't use AI really at all because to me, your LinkedIn profile should be 95% a match of your resume and potentially some of your cover letter, but mostly the resume. And so you've already used AI to do it. And so otherwise, where you have the ability to kind of deviate on LinkedIn, it should be you. It should be genuine. So when you think about your headline, when you think about maybe the about section or different things like that, where you can add some flavor or add your twist, do so. Embrace your weird, your uniqueness. And that's what's going to set you apart. Okay. So that's phase one of where to use AI in job search. So resume writing, superior. Cover letter writing, superior. LinkedIn should really be a translation of information with spots of you and your genuine self. No AI at all, pretty much. Okay. So now we're on to phase two. So the searching and applying. So how's AI here? So realistically, AI is beneficial at every step of the way when it comes to the job search side of the equation. So it can be useful for searching and matching in general. It can be useful for filling out the applications. It can be useful in the supplemental questions. It can be useful in networking. But there's just different areas where I'm going to say it's the minority stakeholder, not the majority stakeholder. So if we look at the last section of resume and cover letter, it's the majority stakeholder in both of those equations. Job searching and applying, the human is more often than not so like you as the individual, you are the majority stakeholder, but from time to time you can use AI to augment yourself. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of AI detection capabilities nowadays or consistent phrases. And so when we are thinking about answering the supplemental questions like, what is your unique value proposition? Why do you want to work here? Tell us about a time when blank. And it's like in that filled out, type out text box scenario within the application. When you use AI in those scenarios, unless you have extensive usage or conversation with something like ChatGPT to where it really, really can incorporate and re-embody you and your tone and your speaking way, it's just going to be very much more generic gobbledygook. So I don't recommend doing it. So that's kind of the risk that you're playing is being detected and honestly just being generic. And that's the last thing we want in this process. So where we want to look at things here is, again, let's break this down. So we got searching and applying. So you are going to be the one that is going on job boards and searching them. Now, there are AI tools out there. I have yet to really hear anything quality or positive consistently about any of them. And the reason being is because I will be the first to say that this job market is a volume job market. It's not the market where you send out 10 applications, spending an hour on each so that you're perfectly tailored and crafted and networked. No, uh, it's definitely a volume game and then effort after you get some sort of response. That's my recommendation. And that's what the AI tools are great for. But it's also potentially not, you lose a lot of control. So if you do want to tweak the cover letter and you want to tweak it in a specific way to you, when you're using tools that are built for the job search, they're just doing it all behind the scenes without your oversight. So you maybe can't tell it what tone to use, what professionalism, what formality, what story you want to tell. You can't tell it those things. So I still recommend that the job search and application phase is 100% on you, with the exception of recruiters. If you find some recruiters, obviously let them do their job, but you still have to be the one to find them. So what I'm referring to here is think LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, ZipRecruiter, etc. Or even, like I said, recruiting agencies like, Robert Half, Korn Ferry, Tech Systems, etc. There's a bunch out there. Now, filling out the application, we talked about this as well, is I would not use AI to write them. Now, what you can do, I don't necessarily have a prompt to provide you, but I can kind of spitball one, is if you know what you want to say and all of the answers to the question, but maybe you're not confident in your writing, then you can tell ChatGPT the context. So say, hey, I'm applying for this job, give it the job description. In the application, it has this supplemental question. Boom, here's the response I want to have, and here's the tone and messaging I want to convey with that. How would you state this? And then you can kind of have it iterate and modify what you want to say over and over again to be like you. But if you really think about it, that might even take more time than just you providing the answer. So that's kind of the trade-off there, is like, if AI is actually going to make it better, or you really are just really stuck in a writer's block and need AI to make it better, then use AI. Otherwise, I would just say give your true, genuine answer for yourself and go from there. And then the networking and follow-ups. This is actually the part of the job search that I think AI can be really, really good in. Mostly the networking side, because the follow-up, let's just be honest. So what I'm meaning here by follow-up is the follow-up to an interview, or it could be the follow-up to the application. Both these are very, very simple, right? So to the application, you're maybe trying to message someone on LinkedIn. And if it's going to be like a cold message on LinkedIn, you don't necessarily have an email that you're sending to yet, then I would use AI and tell it, hey, I'm going to send this message with this character limit to this person on LinkedIn that I applied to this job. Here was the resume I used to apply. I want to send a cold message. Here's some information from their profile. What would you say? And it can kind of craft, a 250 character message or whatever the limit is of how you're doing it. If it's an email, hey, I want to craft a short, concise, professional email. Again, same information. So from a cold outreach or cold follow-up standpoint, it's great. Because it can really help you overcome that fear of, oh my God, I've never emailed this person, or, oh, I've never sent a DM to this person on LinkedIn. What do I do? Right? It can remove that anxiety by helping you really portray and come up with something very confident and realistic. Now, in terms of the interview follow-up, I wouldn't use AI. It's a thank you email. Hey, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you letting me. I'm very excited for this and really looking forward to next steps, right? It's just a quick thank you. So I wouldn't use AI to craft those follow-ups. All right, so that's it for our phase 2 of the job search and application phase, right? So where AI is going to help out is really on the cold networking prompts or cold networking messages, and it could help on the filling out applications from the supplemental questions, but I don't recommend it. And the resume parsing should be taking care of the majority, and all the searching and applying and recruiting aspect should really be falling on you. I personally do not recommend any of the job search tools. All right. Phase 3, interview preparation and execution. Okay. So this is a hybrid approach. Straight up, it's the way to go. So where AI wins in this, AI is going to be your infinite, perfect interview partner or practice partner. Okay. And it can really, really give you all of the feedback you need on your answers, the context, your tone, your speech speed, all of these things. So really the auditive side of the equation. That's what you're looking for feedback on from ChatGPT or AI. And it allows you to get infinite reps and on your own time. So one of my just general pieces of advice before AI existed for any client I worked with, any friend, anybody in my network, whatever it might be, because it was one of the best tips I ever got when I was 17, is when you start interviewing for jobs, do not stop interviewing no matter how happy you are until you have at least 100 hours of dedicated interview reps where things are actually at stake. So talent acquisition interviews don't count. HR interviews don't count. It actually needs to be with the decision makers and people that are going to determine if you get a job or not. Those are the 100 hours I'm referring to. Okay. ChatGPT now does that for you. And the reason I say 100 hours is because I think by that point in my experience and everyone I've given this tip to that's fulfilled it, you can take 5 years off because you've been happy in your job and your employment from interviewing. And when you come back, you might have rust for like one interview, a half an interview, maybe two tops. Like your rust comes off quick, but you're not like, oh my gosh, I've been on 3 interviews in my life. 5 years into my career. I need to represent myself as someone who's professional experience. How do I do that? Like you don't go through this spiral. And so that's what we're solving with ChatGPT here. Now, aside from the interview side, where are humans superior? So again, this is the human to human interaction. ChatGPT or AI can't judge your body language yet. It can't judge your eye contact yet. It can't do your handshake, probably ever. Um, Company research. This is a muddy hybrid one where AI is getting better depending on whether or not you are paying or not paying for ChatGPT or other services. And then another one that's an interesting use case is actually your interview attire. And that is one where AI is becoming more and more useful. And I will share how in that regard. Okay. So AI interview prep. So what we're going to do here is I will share my screen and kind of show you this prompt. And this will essentially tell you exactly how you're going to practice. So what we're going to do here is it's already analyzed a job description. So think about this. This is going to be one of the last prompts in your chat that you were doing for analyzing the job descriptions initially. So based on the previously analyzed job descriptions, please generate 50 interview questions that are incredibly likely to be asked for this role. The interview questions should include questions directly related to the job description, as well as cultural questions, character questions, and relationship building questions. The question should also account for open-ended and closed-ended questions, situational/star questions, and compound questions. And so this is really what's going to allow it to then create the list of 50 questions. Now, this is going to give you two things. So when you have this list of questions, you can now just go practice on your own. I always tell people practice in the mirror, practice with the spouse, etc. Right? So this is giving you 50 questions to practice on your own. If you maybe look at, the list of 50 and you're like, oh man, there's 20 of these that I just have no idea how I'd answer. Well, don't go into practicing with ChatGPT yet, right? Like you want to be able to kind of formulate any answers to any of the questions in that regard. And that's what we're going to do. So then our next prompt is actually going to be initiating the practice here. Okay. So what we want to do is in that same prompt or chat, sorry, we want to go with acting as a hiring manager for the previously analyzed job description. I'd like you to interview me for the job role. I have provided you here my resume and cover letter that I submitted for this particular job. The interview process will consist of asking you 10 questions from the previously generated list of questions based on the previously analyzed job description. Follow-up questions or clarification questions are welcome to truly mirror a real interview experience, and these do not count towards the 10-question limit. The 10 questions chosen should incorporate both culture fit and direct position fit. The interview will begin only when I tell you, ChatGPT, that the interview is starting. After the 10-question interview is completed, you will provide me feedback on my responses for each question individually. The feedback provided should serve the intention to help me improve my interviewing skills and reinforce what I am doing well to maximize my chances of converting future interviews into job offers. Feedback on my answers, tone, speech, language, storytelling, relation to the job description, and all of the factors relating to what can be analyzed should be provided. Before we begin, does this make sense? And then your next prompt is going to say, let's begin. But the key to doing it here is you're going to do the let's begin on your phone. The ChatGPT free version is really your best friend here. So it now has a voice function, and it's been out there for a little bit. And so what you want to do is you'll do this on your computer or laptop. You could do it on your phone, but copy paste and things like that on the phone is a pain to me. So the way that I do this is get this chat prepared on the computer, since you can just highlight, copy, paste, make it nice and easy. And then once you're ready to start, then you pick up your phone, go to the ChatGPT app, and go to that same chat and just say, let's begin the interview. And then it will start out with that first question, and it will run through like an interview. And then at the end, it will give you this feedback. And the thing is, that's really cool is you can pick the voice that you want on the other side. So you can pick something that makes you a little bit more comforted or that you're familiar with or whatever it might be. Or you want to make it a little bit of hard mode for you. Pick one of the voices that you don't like, that you hate. And then you have to add that additional level of difficulty of going, okay, this person's voice is annoying, and that's okay because I'm still going to kick ass. So just something that's a little bit interesting there. But this is how you turn ChatGPT and AI into your perfect AI partner at the end of the day. So I mentioned ones where humans are superior, and really some of these are going to be truly human only, and some of them are going to be a hybrid approach. So body language, eye contact, and handshake. Those are just human. Nothing you can do there. Now, the two that are hybrid and like shifting to where AI can help you out a lot are going to be the company research and actually your attire. So the company research is one that depends on whether or not you are paying. I believe the free version of ChatGPT does have its default search function. So where when you're looking at the prompt, it'll have the little search button that you can toggle on and off for it to live search the web. And this is pretty good. Now, because we're looking to review a company's social media, get their mission, vision, and values, maybe figure out questions that it could create for the when they get to the what questions do you have for us phase, all these sorts of things. When you get to a lot of variables, the search function breaks down for ChatGPT. Now, the deep search function is super good. And it's really, really great for this. But the deep search function right now is not only behind the paywall of the ChatGPT Premium Plus, whatever it's called, but it's also only able to be used right now 10 times per month. And I think that there's a better use case if you're behind the paywall for that function that we'll get to later, or at least for a couple of those uses, because it won't necessarily be on a reoccurring monthly basis, but definitely on your initial kind of prep for the job search. I think there's a better use case to use the initial 10 uses for, or up to those 10, and then you can maybe switch them over to the company research phase. Now, the Attire one is also an interesting one, and we're going to go back to the mobile phone app here. So I found this out accidentally. I was actually just messing around. So my wife was looking for an outfit, a couple different outfits to wear to our trip to Spain that we recently took. And she was wearing an outfit, and she was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I literally turned around and I said, "You look like a candy bar." Just the outfit just literally reminded me of like chocolate caramel. It was just, I was like, "You look like a candy bar." Um, and so we were like, "Well, what do we, she was like, "Well, I don't know what to change or what to do." So I was like, "Well, let's mess with ChatGPT here." So I took a picture on my phone, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, I want you to act as a fashion expert. Tell us how we could modify this outfit in order to be more fashionable, look less like a candy bar, but also make it look effortless." Because my wife is somebody who's just not very overly effort into that side of the equation. Like she doesn't want to spend hours getting ready or also have it like look like she tried real hard. Either of those things. And it came back with some phenomenal responses, literally breaking down, well, okay, because the shorts that you're wearing are ribbed, then you can do this, this, and this from a texture perspective. Maybe from a jewelry or accessory perspective, you want to stick small so that it's not looking like you're trying too hard. So maybe doing this and this and this. Hey, even maybe throwing on a scarf in order to add a little bit of volume and depth, and your top, changing it to this or maybe this color, this contrast. Like it was wild. It went into textures, jewelry, accessories, all of it. It was super awesome. And she I read her the response, gave it to her, and she was like, "Oh, I have like 7 of these things in my closet. Hold on." And then she went out and started mixing and matching, and she was like, "Holy crap, these suggestions are really good." And so this can go the same way for interview attire. So let's say you have an outfit that maybe you typically wear. Or like for me, right? Like I have more ties and watches than I do vests and shirts, right? So this is where, maybe I'll get, like, you can do multiple pictures. So you can do a picture of what you're wearing and say, "Hey, critique this or tell me how I can make it better." Or you can actually take a picture of your options and you could say, "Hey, what's my best mix and match here?" As long as the options don't take up so much space, that your camera's so far away that the camera can't pick up the textures and real patterns and things like that. So as long as you still have that level of detail, AI can take all that into account and give you that feedback. And so what you want to say is, hey, acting as a fashion expert, I want you to help me pick out my ideal interview attire. Here's the message I want to portray with my interview clothing. Here's the options I have. Or here's the outfit that I have. And like for me, so I'm someone who wear very simple colors, navy blues, grays, blacks, etc. But I usually like to have a loud tire. Something pops somewhere. And so I can give it that and say, hey, here's the base outfit that I would like to wear. But between the remaining accessories of my tie and my watch, here's my options. And I really want to have something pop and be memorable and loud in those accessory compartments. What would you select? So you can really actually have it give you feedback on your outfits and clothing. And it's super fascinating to see how awesome it really is. Okay. And so now we're on to, so that is the completion of phase 3. So your interview preparation, interview execution, and so on. Phase 4, offer negotiation. So again, this is actually a pure hybrid approach. And if you've made it to getting an offer, congrats. First of all, nice job. Way to go. Keep it up. So negotiation research. So this is actually what I was referring to as if you are behind the paywall using and you have access to the deep research function, and it's something that you can only use 10 times a month. I would rather use that thing to make me more money than to simply potentially help me out with company research that I can do. So this would be my initial use case I would solve, is having the deep research function of ChatGPT, if you have access to it, saying, hey, here is my position. Here's the ranges, here's the position I'm going for, the title. Here's my experience, my years of experience, things like that. Any education, certifications that I have. The company size I'm targeting is from this size to this size. The industry I'm targeting is this, this, and this, or this particular one, or maybe I don't have an industry specification. And from a geographic perspective, the company is located here, or I'm looking for on-site hybrid here, or whatever your kind of geographic box is. And what I want you to do is perform research to tell me what the 25th percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile of pay of compensation packages for these details are. The compensation package you provide me should include the salary, bonus, stock options, equity, investments, 401k match, PTO, all the kind of standard things. Or even things that are optional, because I know not every company has stock options and not every company has bonuses, but maybe they have one or the other. So you just want to list out the options and then have ChatGPT go do the research and compile this. And this tells you where you should be falling, where you should be looking. Now, let's say you don't have access to the deep research function, or you've used up your 10 uses, or whatever it is. At the end of the day, the human approach to this is going to be looking at some independent websites to gather your research. So my defaults that I go to are going to be Payscale, Salary.com, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Indeed, and then also recruiting agencies. Again, if you're working with recruiters, they will know. And the best thing here is to have multiple recruiters across multiple agencies. And that way you can get their varying industry trends and kind of see again where you're supposed to fall. So again, this is if you don't have access to the deep research, and even if you do, it doesn't hurt for you to do this. But the point in the deep research is to make your life easier. One less thing to do. And so this is a ideal hybrid approach here. But if you have to do it manually, then you do it manually. And again, we have AI as your infinite practice partner, because that is the scariest part for most people. Is 73% of employers actually expect you to negotiate. And that's from career builders. There's a couple other studies out there that, show it's potentially even up to 87%, I think is the highest I've seen. But you'll almost never find a study, or at least I've never really seen one, that says that it's effectively not the norm to negotiate. So you're expected to negotiate. And so the biggest thing for most people in this is they maybe don't feel confident about it. They don't know how to approach the conversation. They've never done it before. They think they're risking their job, whatever it might be. Toss all of that aside and let's get you comfortable with it now that I already gave you a little bit of data that it's the norm. So I'm going to show you here this prompt. And so what we're going to do is we are going to say, acting as a hiring manager for X position that I have an offer for, I would like you to help me practice negotiating the compensation package. The advertised compensation package is from X to X salary with the following benefits. List all the benefits. When practicing this negotiation, I would like you to present realistic and highly likely objections or obstacles in order to give me effective real-world practice. The negotiation practice will begin only when I say so. The negotiation ends when you have deemed that I successfully negotiated what I wanted, or you have deemed that I have failed at negotiating what I wanted. After the negotiation practice is complete, you will provide me feedback on what I can improve and how to increase my chances of successful negotiation and reinforce the aspects I perform well. Before we begin, does this make sense? And this is, again, it's just like the interview prompt, but shifted over for salary negotiation. And again, once before you hit the begin, you're going to do it on your phone and you're going to say, now I begin. And then this is going to go through that conversation until it says, okay, we're done. Either you won or you lost, and here's why. And this is, again, how you get the reps. You get comfortable. You learn what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and how to overcome maybe some common objections that you're going to have. So again, we're looking for an AI approach here. So going in both of these scenarios, the interview and the salary negotiation, goes back to that first statement that I made in this. AI will not replace you, but someone that knows how to use it will. And I hope that this is really getting you to understand why that statement is true. AI can't entirely write your resume and your story without your input. AI cannot interview for you to get you the job. AI cannot negotiate for you to get the highest compensation that you deserve based off of your unique package you're providing. But AI will help you write the best resume possible. It will help you write the best cover letter possible. It will help you be so comfortable in interviews that it's bread and butter and no anxiety at all. And it will help you negotiate to where when you ask for that 75th, 80th percentile salary, you're like, no skin off my back. Okay. That's what we're looking to do here, is just to get you to understand that AI in the job search is, yes, about efficiency, and it can help you do more faster. Again, doing a cover letter per application now is instantaneous, right? Like we're talking 30 seconds to write a cover letter for a position as opposed to, 10, 20, 30 minutes that it used to do. So there is an efficiency gain here, but it's also massively quality gains, right? It's the fact that in a month you could do, hundreds of interviews, hundreds of salary negotiations, where some people don't even get that in their life. This is how you can get a lifetime's worth of work in a month's worth of time. Talk about efficiency and efficacy. Okay, and now we're on to phase 5, profit. And so this is really meant to be two things, somewhat facetiously. So at the end of the day, you got your job. So enjoy it. Kick ass, take names, continue your career, profit. But the other thing is that if AI helped you out in your job search, I hope that you then continue to use it to help you at your job. And especially when you see some of the unique ways that we can use it here. We can use it to practice difficult conversations. We can use it for visual augmentation. We can use it for documentation. We can use it for SOPs. We can use it for researching competitors and best practice. And so, like, there's so many things that it can do to just save you time, effort, energy, and also make you look like a rock star, that once you begin having it augmenting you and maximizing what your true deep down native skill set and unique value proposition are, then really the situations become endless, and it is able to fill the gaps that you are weak in and make you a holistic kick-ass package. So that is why I say phase 5 is profit. So with that, I appreciate you joining me today. If you like this content, like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you get every video that I release, 2 videos, 2 long form videos a week, plus generally about 10 to 15 shorts per week. We are also live on X, LinkedIn, Meta, so Facebook and Instagram. So please check us out there. Links are all down below. If you're looking for a career coach, looking for some one-on-one assistance, there's a link to my quiz below. Take that going and get the ball rolling. Also, there is if you're maybe looking for pay-as-you-go coaching, maybe you just have some one-off questions or situations you need help with, but maybe don't need the whole investment of a package. That's my next solution below. Link to that is also in the description, so check that out. Leave a comment if you have any feedback on my content. I always want to be producing the best content, so please leave feedback, give your thoughts. If you have things to add to the conversation, subtract to the conversation, whatever it is, leave it in a comment below. Look at my track record. I respond to every single comment ever left on every video. End of story. No questions asked. That's why I'm here, is to help you guys and provide value. So without further ado, thank you for joining me today, and until next time.